everybody. Let's start our perpendicular equation notes. So we're going to start with example number 3. This should be the inside of your foldable. We're going to go ahead and underline some of the important information. So just like our last one, we'll be passing through a point, and for this one that's 4, 3. We are working with perpendicular this time and not parallel, which means the slope that we need has to be an opposite reciprocal instead of being the same slope. So we're going to be looking for the flipped fraction and the opposite sign of the slope we're given. And in this one, our original equation, y equals 2x minus 4. As a reminder, the first piece of information that we need is the slope. So our equation is in slope-intercept form. So the 2 in front of the x term gives us the slope of the original line. But remember, we need the opposite reciprocal of that. So the slope we're going to use, we're going to do 2 over 1 and flip that upside down to 1 over 2. And we're going to change the sign to make it a negative 1 over 2 or negative 1/2. The next thing that we're going to do with that new slope, not the original, and the point that we started with of 4, 3, just like in the last one, we're again going to use our point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. With that formula, we are going to go ahead and replace the x and y coordinates and use our opposite reciprocal for our slope. So in place of y1, we're putting the y coordinate of 3. In place of m, we're putting negative 1/2, not 2. We're using our new slope that we flipped upside down and changed the sign. And in place of the x coordinate, you're going to go ahead and place in that number 4 in place of x1. After you do that, now it's time to simplify, and the first simplifying step is to distribute. So on that right side, taking negative 1/2 times x, and negative 1/2 times negative 4, which gives you a positive 2. After you've distributed, we need to continue to simplify and isolate the y variable. So we're going to go ahead and add 3 to both sides. And on the left, all we have left over is the y, and that negative 1/2 x stays on the right side. And we have a positive 2 plus a positive 3, which gives us positive 5. This new equation is our answer. It is a line perpendicular to the original. We're going to go ahead and continue with example number 4. So we're still writing a new equation from a given point, negative 5, 1, that is perpendicular to the line that we have. And remember, perpendicular indicates that whatever slope we start with, we need to take the opposite reciprocal of that to be able to use it to create our new equation. Looking at the equation that we have, 5x plus 3y equals negative 21, it starts to be unclear as to what our slope is going to be because it's in standard form. So what we need to do first is change this from standard form to slope-intercept form, which means we need to get the y term completely by itself on that left side. So you're going to start by taking away the x term from both sides. And doing that, 5x minus 5x is going to cancel out, and you just have that positive 3y on the left side. On the right side, we have both of those terms, the negative 5x and the negative 21 left over. We still want to get that y term completely by itself, so we need to get rid of that coefficient of 3 by dividing every term by 3. So we get y is equal to negative 5/3 x, and negative 21 divided by 3 is negative 7. And remember, this isn't what we want. This is still our original equation. All we want is that one piece of information which is our slope. So in the original, it is -5/3. But remember, we want the opposite reciprocal of that. So we're going to flip that upside down to 3/5. And it was negative, so we're going to make it positive. That is the slope that we are going to use to create our new line. And again, we're going to use point slope form. Y minus y1 is m times x minus x1. So plugging in our information using the y-coordinate from the original point, which was that +1, using our new slope, so the opposite reciprocal that we came up with, not the original one, so 3/5, and in place of x1, we're going to replace the x-coordinate that we had, which was -5. Your next step is to simplify. We always want it in slope-intercept form. So on the right side, I'm going to change those to plus, so instead of x minus -5, and then distribute. So 3/5 times x, and 3/5 times +5, which is not +5, it should be +3. That was my mistake. Still getting y by itself, add 1 to both sides. And doing so, we end up with y is equal to 3/5 x, and if that was a +3, you'd get +4 instead of +6. And that is our new equation perpendicular to our original through that given point. Now, go ahead and try the questions on the right side of your paper. So these are your try it questions or you try questions, starting with number 5. Just to help you get started on the first one, make sure you first identify what the slope is. In this case, it's 3/4, but as a reminder, we're finding lines perpendicular, which means we need to change that slope by flipping it upside down and making it either positive or negative, so changing the sign. Always use your point slope form in these cases. It'll be the quickest and easiest way for you to find your new equation. And from that, plug in that x-coordinate, plug in the y-coordinate, and plug in the new slope that you came up with using that opposite reciprocal. Now go ahead and get started, please.